Hi, I'm Simon Kane and welcome to a taste of California from magnificent Monterey County, the jewel of California's central coast. It's been dubbed the greatest meeting of land, sea and sky on the entire planet. A breathtaking visual feast of rugged shores and crescent-shaped bays. No other California county can boast 99 miles of simply awe-inspiring Pacific coastline, including the intensely dramatic Big Sur, Pebble Beach and 17-mile drive, romantic Carmel and Monterey's very own wine country. California's history began here with the founding of Monterey Bay in 1602. At the beginning of the 20th century, fishing was Monterey's main industry, and Fisherman's Wharf still reflects much of those early days, though more from a tourist's point of view. Likewise, Cannery Row, the 1930s and 40s sardine capital of the world. And while we're talking fish, want to see some? Follow me then. This is one of Monterey's finest, the world-famous Monterey Bay Aquarium. An important part of the aquarium's status as a national maritime sanctuary is the Seafood Watch program, and to find out more about it, I spoke to the program manager, Jennifer Dianto.
We do have some fantastic seafood here, especially along the coast of California. Halibut, we even have farmed abalone, we have fresh salmon, and it's really fantastic. But what we want people to know is that there's some seafood caught in certain fisheries that are facing some problems, and consumers, whether you're in a restaurant or buying the seafood in a store, really need to lay off certain products for now and instead support the fishermen and fish farmers who are catching and raising their fish in an environmentally friendly way.
And how are you going about it?
Well, we have a very convenient pocket guide, that little card that you saw previously, and that folds up into the size of a business card. You can put it in your pocket, take it with you when you go shopping, take it with you when you go to the beautiful restaurants that we have around here, and use it as a reference guide. It identifies for you the best, most ocean-friendly choices that you can get here in California. And it also asks you to avoid others that, scientists and fishermen and fish farmers need some time to rebuild these fisheries or make improvements to the way they're caught.
This is just extraordinary. This exhibit is called the Kelp Forest, and so typical of everything here at the aquarium. It's an exact replica. It's like taking the ocean and putting it inside the aquarium. There's so much I want to know about it, and Randy Kochiva, he's a marine biologist with the aquarium, and he's going to give me lots of information. Here's the man. Good morning. Good to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Tell me a little bit more about the aquarium.
Well, the aquarium is built around the idea that we wanted to share with our visitors a face-to-face experience of seeing the animals and habitats that exist around the Monterey Bay. So, for example, in the Kelp Forest exhibit here, we're really looking into a community of animals and plants, just like what we would see if you went diving offshore from the aquarium just a few hundred feet out. So we have the Monterey Bay habitats and deep reefs and shale reefs. We have the aviary where we have a slough gallery. So we really go sort of as though you were walking around Monterey Bay, going from habitat to habitat, place to place. We also have in our Outer Bay exhibit a number of exhibits that portray the animals and communities that you find much farther offshore, out in the open ocean, say 60 or 70 miles away. And finally, we have special exhibitions. Right now we have our Jellies Living Art exhibit, and we have our Sharks, Myth and Mysteries exhibit. And these interpret animals in different ways. We sort of have a little more latitude to talk about animals that live in other places on the planet. In Jellies Living Art, we're presenting jellies as though they're works of art. It's like walking through an art gallery.
Obviously, this is a fantastic attraction for families and children. You have, I think it's called the Splash Zone.
That's right. The Splash Zone was originally a special exhibition that we built, and instead of focusing on a particular place or a particular group of animals, we focused on a particular group of people, the 7 and under crowd. And we built an exhibit especially to meet their needs. Where they can explore water itself and play with water, and all of the exhibits that they saw are down at kids level. We take them from the colorful and crowded coral reefs to the rough and tumble rocky shores, and you can see some really, really neat animals animals there, ranging from tropical reef fish to South African black-footed penguins, and it continues to be one of our most popular exhibits.
The biggest attraction here is always the extraordinary outer bay. 1 million gallons of water behind one of the world's largest windows. Impressive enough even before discovering what's inside it. There are tuna, barracuda, rays, sharks, and the most spectacular of all, a great white. Well, clearly Monterey is an area that takes real pride in its culinary treasures, with its riches from the sea easily matched by those from the land. In fact, agriculture is the #1 industry in the county, producing more than 65 varieties of crops. Of all the jewels that come out of the ground, by far the poshest, on looks alone, is the artichoke. And have you ever wondered where an artichoke comes from? Because I have, and to get the answers, I've come down to Frank Capurro & Son, a major producer here in North Monterey County. Mike Manfrey is one of 5 partners. Mike, when did artichokes first arrive in this country?
They came over from Italy in the 1920s. We've been growing them now for about 25 years, and we grow about 400 acres a year.
What's the growing time?
These were planted back in October, and we're harvesting them now in May. Typically, later on in the year when we plant in the springtime, in April or May, we'll harvest them in October.
Now, there are several artichokes on one flower. Is that what you call it, a flower?
Yes, the artichoke is actually a flower, and there's a primary artichoke, and then there's a secondaries around the primary.
I mean, that's a good example. Would you harvest just that large one in the middle?
We harvest this one first, and then we'll come back a week later and harvest 1 or 2 more out of here, and then we'll come back another week after that and harvest the balance of it. It'll take us generally 4 to 5 weeks to complete the whole harvest.
If I was sitting in a restaurant in Monterey and I had an artichoke on my plate, when was the likelihood that that would have been picked?
Well, if we pick this today, you could have it in the restaurant tomorrow.
Picture this. It's the mid-1970s, and Nicholas Hahn, a Swiss businessman, philanthropist, possessor of a significant spirit of adventure and a love for Californian wines, discovered while he was living in England, moves to Monterey with his family. Just a few years later, in 1980, he releases a highly acclaimed vintage of Cabernet Sauvignon, the beginning of what is to become a spectacularly outstanding winery with a current production today of over 500,000 cases. Is there a little bit of envy creeping in? I bet there is, and when you see where it all happens, there'll be an awful lot more. This is the Santa Lucia Highlands overlooking the Salinas Valley, a perfect situation with a perfect climate for wine growing, and when Nicky Hahn discovered it after a 2-year search, he made his second excellent move, the first being coming out here in the first place by snapping up the Smith & Hook Winery. In 1991, Hahn created the Hahn Estates brand. So while Smith & Hook remains the first wine produced by the Hahn family, Hahn Estates is the premium wine brand, and the winery is now known as Hahn Estates Smith & Hook Winery. Now, behind every great winery is a great winemaker. Here, they have a brace. Adam Lazar, Paul Clifton, and assistant Greg Freeman, who I'm about to meet in the barrel room. Greg, hi.
Hey, Simon.
Wow, this is spectacular. My goodness me. How many barrels are in here?
We have about 2,000 barrels in this room, and there's about 4 of these barrel rooms altogether at the winery.
So 8,000 barrels, which would account for the huge number of grapes that you grow. I mean, what is it, 1,400 acres?
We have about 1,400 acres here in Monterey County in the Santa Lucia Highlands. This is a Pinot Noir from the Santa Lucia Highlands, from one of the vineyards located right up here by the winery.
Can I have a look at that now? That
Absolutely.
looks like quite a light wine. How long's that been in the barrel?
That has been in the barrel for about 2 years, and it's about ready for bottling.
Let's have a taste there. I mean, without having a huge knowledge of wine, I mean, it tastes like a young wine. What's the difference between a wine we taste here and a wine that we taste in the tasting room? In other words, from comparing the barrel to the bottle?
Here in the cellar, in the barrel rooms, the wines are in barrels and they're in their more young state. They're aging. The wines are unfiltered in the barrel, and we keep the vineyard areas separate. So one row of barrels will have one section of a vineyard, the next row will have a different section of the vineyard. Later on, we'll pump the wine out of the barrels and blend them together.
Okay.
So what you have in the bottle is a blend
Understood.
of finished wines.
Now, that one you have there, I mean, that is significantly darker. What's that?
This is a Petite Syrah. This is a wine from last fall, so this is much younger. Has about another year to go, so this is an adolescent.
We've tasted here. I'd like to go up and taste in the tasting room, if that's possible.
Let's go to the tasting room, and I'll introduce you to Lori, our tasting room director.
Very nice to meet you.
Very nice meeting you, Simon.
Director of Hospitality, what does that involve?
Well, it's the on-site marketing and promotion of our winery. We have a beautiful site, as you can see. This is our tasting room. We have an event facility for weddings and picnics and parties and conferences. And our tasting room is open 11 to 4 daily. And we promote the wine right here with visitors that come in.
These are the wines. Let's
Yes.
taste one.
Would you like to try a Syrah?
Thank you. Of all the roads in Monterey County, one stands out above the rest, not just for its legendary scenic splendor, but for its being one of only 9 private toll roads in the country, and the only one west of the Mississippi. The 17-mile drive winds its way through the Del Monte forest, up into the coastal hills, and down to the Pacific coastline. At the northern end, 17-mile drive originates in Pacific Grove, a gorgeous historic town first developed in the 1800s, complete with Victorian homes, seaside cottages, and storybook scenery. Pacific Grove is also the location of the Point Pinos Lighthouse, the oldest continually operating lighthouse on the west coast, and with the notorious Pacific fog, probably the most important too. There are so many incredibly famous sites on 17-Mile Drive, and easily at the top of the list is the Lone Cypress, the official symbol of Pebble Beach, one of the greatest names in golf and the #1 ranked golf resort in the whole of the US. The culinary equivalent of a round of golf on the incredible Pebble Beach links is a table at either of the restaurants at the lodge. These two outstanding yet substantially different establishments are overseen by Executive Chef Jeffrey Jake.
We do have a number of stellar dining experiences here at the lodge. The first being Stillwater Bar and Grill, which features the best of the bounty of our local oceans, sustainable seafood, calamari and salmon, and spot prawns, a lot of different ingredients that we find in a bright and lively setting up in Stillwater. And the chef de cuisine, Stephen Tavir, does an excellent job incorporating local ingredients that enhance one another, like those artichokes and the salmon, in order to make the dish lively like the room and fun. And you'll be able to find all of those things in Stillwater when you visit there. In a different setting, we have Club 19 downstairs below Stillwater Bar and Grill. It's a classic and elegant dining room incorporating a Mediterranean feel. These are great mouth-watering presentations. Rick takes these ingredients, combines them in a way that really, again, enhances those local ingredient flavors. I think that you'll find the most exciting part about Club 19 is wondering what combination is going to come out next from the kitchen, and really the anticipation of what that might be. Club 19 is open for dinner 7 days a week. Stillwater Bar and Grill you'll find open morning for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week as well. 365 days a year. We're here to have our guests come out and enjoy the creations that we have available to them. And a beautiful view that rivals and goes beyond the Gulf and the food, but in a combination, it's just the perfect setting.
In 1987, the Pebble Beach Company took the sandy wasteland of a former sand mining operation and turned it into the Inn and Links at Spanish Bay, named after the Spanish expedition that camped here on the white shores in 1769. Just like the lodge at Pebble Beach, the beautiful inn at Spanish Bay harbours two more fabulous dining establishments, Roy's and Pepperley's, both under the direction of executive chef Rodney Nkango and executive sous chef Elias Lopez.
Roy's restaurant was named after the famed chef Roy Yamaguchi. The food we serve here is Hawaiian fusion. Our focus is on island seafood. Some of our specialties are Roy's signature items, which are the seared rare ahi, misoyaki style butterfish. Well, one of my favorite dishes here in our restaurant is Roy's famous classic blackened ahi. Blackened ahi is basically yellowfin ahi tuna. We blackened it, sear it on the flat top, and then we serve it with beurre blanc and a little bit of soy mustard butter sauce. We also have the restaurant Pepperley. Pepperley is named after the vineyard Pepperley, which is owned by Piero Antinori. In Pepperley, we serve Tuscan style cuisine. A couple of examples of the cuisine that we serve in Pepperley are Antinori's famous osso buco. We also have our whole roasted fish. We also have a great artichoke dish. It's a wood-grilled artichoke, and we drizzle some aged balsamic vinegar, and also we drizzle some Pepperley olive oil. We have some great desserts at Pepperley Restaurant too. We have an infused bay leaf panna cotta. We also have a tiramisu.
And when the sun begins to set at the end of the day, there could be no better place to witness the spectacle and sounds of the piper than in front of the open fire under a gradually darkening sky. And just outside the south gate of Pebble Beach at the tail end of 17 Mile Drive is yet another storybook village. Carmel by the Sea is famed for a whole host of reasons. It's really quaint, it's very, very arty, it's got a ton of great restaurants, a beautiful beach, Clint Eastwood as its former mayor, and the cheese shop, owned and run by Kent Torrey over at Carmel Plaza, which, they say, along with all of the above, is an absolute must for your visit list.
Morning.
Morning.
Here's a little taste for you while you browse.
I'm hardly in the shop.
That's okay, that's what we do. This is a taste of a wonderful cheese called St. George. This is a raw milk cow's cheese made up in Santa Rosa, California, just north of San Francisco by an hour.
How long have you been here?
Well, we've actually been in this location for 30 years. Our store's been in existence for 32. And, you know, we are called the Cheese Shop because we love cheese.
So how many different cheeses do you carry here?
Oh, on any given day we carry over 300 different cheeses. And here's another little taste. We'll take you on a world tour while we're chit-chatting. This is a wonderful raw milk goat's cheese from France called Vallée d'Aspe. It's a beautiful cheese, traditional from the Pyrenees.
Do you think there's a way to taste cheese in the same way there's a way to taste wine?
Absolutely. There's lots of different theories as to which is the best way. Ultimately, we just start you on one spot and continue to go, and you're on a ride. In fact, this is sort of what we do. We have a little cheese list here, a cheese cart. This list has got over 200 different cheeses, and what we like to do for our customers is when you come in here, is to go ahead and give you a chance to look at this, pen in hand, because both my parents are teachers, so you have to go ahead and check off the cheeses you taste.
What did I taste here?
Right now, I'll take you to France. That last one you had was the Vallée d'Aspe, and that's under the goat's milk category right down there.
Okay.
And the previous one was over here in the United States called St. George.
Tell me, I mean, your clientele, visitors, tourists, locals, restaurateurs?
We are very, very fortunate here. We actually have clients in all 50 states and 20 countries.
Yeah.
We pack and ship around the world. We do have in this wonderful plaza here at the Carmel Plaza, downtown Carmel by the sea, we have the tour buses that will come in. So we get a lot of Europeans visiting, but we get families that vacation to this area.
Tell me about your wines, because this looks like more than just a few wines in a cheese.
Well, the beauty is that we actually have wines, like I said, from around the world. But we also have, of course, in our backyard, a great wine growing region here in Monterey County. It's probably one of the world's largest wine growing areas for vinifera fruit, even bigger than Napa and Sonoma.
Right.
So we carry the Napa and Sonoma producers, but we certainly feature our backyard.
Yeah.
And we'll get a chance to try some of those,
Okay.
but we have to give you a little more cheese.
Okay.
You had mentioned that you weren't necessarily a fan of Gruyere. Well, here is a cave-aged Gruyere. This is a deeper, stronger, more nutty flavor. So I want to get you into, I've started you on some mild cheeses, and as we do with our customers, we work your palate up. It's a very traditional style business to sample, to taste cheeses. You know, my staff is always trained to go ahead and continue sampling to you until you say no mas. And the best thing for us is to have you buy 6 or 7 little pieces of cheese, some bread, some wine, and everybody says, where's a great place to eat? We say, the beach. And let me give you one more cheese. This is called Old Amsterdam, made by my friend Klaas Westland and his family just outside of Amsterdam. This is an aged Gouda.
What's that, Gouda in English?
Correct.
You know, this is a wonderful experience, but what if I was in a hurry?
If you want to get in and out, don't talk to the owner.
And to wrap up the true spectacle of this extraordinary part of the planet, just get in your car and head south to Big Sur and beyond. Hi, I'm Simon Kane and welcome to A Taste of California from magnificent Monterey County, the jewel. At the beginning of the 20th century, fishing was Monterey's main industry, and Fisherman's Wharf still reflects much of those early days, though more from a tourist's point of view. Likewise, Cannery Row, the 1930s and 40s sardine capital of the world. And while we're talking fish, want to see some? Follow me then. This is one of Monterey's finest, the world famous Monterey Bay Aquarium. Of California's central coast. It's been dubbed the greatest meeting of land, sea and sky on the entire planet. A breathtaking visual feast of rugged shores and crescent-shaped bays. No other California county can boast 99 miles of simply awe-inspiring Pacific coastline, including the intensely dramatic Big Sur, Pebble Beach and 17-mile drive, romantic Carmel, and Monterey's very own wine country. California's history began here with the founding of Monterey Bay in 1602.
Catching and raising their fish in an environmentally friendly way.
And how are you going about it?
Well, we have a very convenient pocket guide, that little card that you saw previously, and that folds up into the size of a business card. You can put it in your pocket, take it with you when you go shopping, take it with you when you go to the beautiful restaurants that we have around here, and use it as a reference guide. It identifies for you the best, most ocean-friendly choices that you can get here in California. And it also asks you to avoid others that, scientists and fishermen and fish farmers need some time to rebuild these fisheries or make improvements to the way they're caught.
An important part of the aquarium's status as a national maritime sanctuary is the Seafood Watch program, and to find out more about it, I spoke to the program manager, Jennifer Diento.
We do have some fantastic seafood here, especially along the coast of California. Halibut, we even have farmed abalone, we have fresh salmon, and it's really fantastic. But what we want people to know is that there's some seafood caught in certain fisheries that are facing some problems, and consumers, whether you're in a restaurant or buying the seafood in a store, really need to lay off certain products for now and instead support the fishermen and fish farmers who are